All right, hello. We are live in the group. We are live. We should be live in the group. I just got to make sure that it connects to the software group that we. Oh shit! There we go. Okay, it's always like a little delayed system. Okay, so let's go live here so you guys can save this. Let's make sure you guys can save this. So we're gonna make sure we save that. Are we live? Okay. We're testing out our new group here, right? We're testing out the new Facebook group, trying to get you guys some stuff so you can keep it. I've been getting a bunch of people yelling at me, Nick, I want to save this stuff. You don't save it all the time. What the hell's going on? So, giving you an opportunity to do that. So, if you are on Instagram, hello. If you are on our Facebook group, hello. How you doing? If you're watching this on the replay, well, let me know if you're watching this on the replay. Because today, if this is your first time here, we do something called a Monday mindset. So on Monday, we kind of talk about some different things to get ourselves set up, maybe for the week, maybe for the month, maybe for the year, maybe just some random thoughts that I thought about, or maybe something I listened to on a podcast that I'm thinking, hey, maybe we could share this with the audience. So today we have a good one because we're going to talk about one thing that really changed me going into 2024, or how should I say, in the beginning of 2024. So I got something for you here. If you comment, let's see, I should have done this early. If you comment AM, I got a little thing for you. If you comment AM, I have a little morning routine checklist, I think we'll call it. I can't spell. Morning routine. And I apologize if you do watch us on the replay. You're like, Nick, what the hell? Well, you should see it in the group. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group that I made for you guys, make sure you do that. There's a link in my bio. Comment AM morning routine checklist. Boom. Okay. So you guys are already commenting before I can do it. All right. So I am slow. I feel like I'm ancient, right? Here, I think I know about technology. Okay, cool. So we'll get into it. Okay, cool. We got that far. All right. So now let's take a deep breath and let's get to where we were talking about. So one of the things that really changed my how do I say, like, my job, my business, kind of like my outlook, my attitude over the course of 2024 was last year I made a New Year's resolution, right? I think like we all do. And I said, I'm going to work with a marketing company. I'm going to market my business. I said, I'm going to work with a marketing company they're going to put me in the magazines. They're going to put me in the magazines that are around the city. I'm going to, kind of market my business and, it's stepping out. I'm going to pay these people. Like, this is going to be my next step. And what I found out was they were horrible, right? They ended up scamming me and they ended up doing some nonsense. But I took a faith, right? I was like, okay, let me just go out here and try this. Okay, it didn't work. And then I got really down on myself. And then I would wake up in the morning, I would start scrolling. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, woe is me. And I just started really feeling bad about myself. I would check in with clients, I would see clients, and I just wasn't myself. And then I realized, like, I didn't have a routine, right? Like, I was in this dark hole, and the only way that can kind of get me out of said dark hole was to start working on myself. And let me know if this is you in the chat, right? A lot of times, like, as COVID happened, we work from home. A lot of us work from home, and we work from home and we have our flexible hours. It's not like we got to go to the office anymore. We're sitting there in our sweatpants, our dog's barking, our kids are yelling. Like, there's things going on, the cat's yelling at you. But, like, sometimes it turns into chaos. Like, we thought it was something we always wanted, but it really turns into chaos, right? Because when we think about it, like, going into a routine at your work, you're clocking into your routine, you're clocking into your office, you're doing whatever. Like, there's something to that. There's structure. You know that you have to wake up at this time. You have to make sure you brush your teeth at this time, and there's no non-negotiables. You have to be in your car to get there. But when we work from home, we don't set these standards to ourselves, right? Like, we don't we roll. I always say we roll one ass cheek out of bed and go right into our desk, right? And then we're just sitting there working, we're shrimping, and then we get up and then we're like, wow, we only have 3,000 steps, or maybe even have 300 steps, or maybe you have 3 steps. Who the hell knows, right? Who knows how busy it is? And then we're like, oh my gosh, like Nick told me to work out, like I have to do this routine, like what the hell's going on? And then we just start, shit starts piling up, and then we start making excuses because then your kids start yelling because maybe they came home from school early, it's a snow day, and then like all these things start coming up, and then we just make excuse after ourselves. But then we realize, like, holy shit, we have no routine, right? We have no structure. And a lot of this is going to happen with people when they get into 2025, when you start doing your New Year's goals, right? Your New Year's resolutions. Well, Nick, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to do all these 8,000 steps. Like I'm getting myself ready. Like, oh my God, the dog needs attention, but it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you fail, right? Because what we realize is that we have, for me, this is what ended up happening, is that I had no structure, right? I'd wake up and then I'm like, yes, I know I got to see clients. I know I got a message. Oh, there's people on Instagram. Oh my God, my phone's blowing up. I had a viral video. Oh my God, my one client said this. Oh, they canceled. And then like all these things start spinning. And the next thing you know, it's 2:09 in the afternoon, right? And you're like, what the fuck? Like what happened, right? So we have to start thinking of an AM routine. And you don't necessarily need an AM routine, but you need either an AM routine or a PM routine. And if you comment on my, if you comment below AM, I'll send you an automation that gives you a checklist. So just some ideas you can really just kind of check off and be like, oh, okay, I never really thought about it. Oh, that makes sense. Based off of 5 key concepts that if you're a part of the vision board, we talked about this, right? Health, wealth, relationships, self. And the thing that you really need to think about when we get into these aspects, right? Your health, right? What can you do to improve your health? What can you do to improve yourself? What can you do to improve your job, your wealth? What can you do to improve your relationships, right? What can you do to improve these different things about yourself? And a lot of times we don't think about that. And so a morning routine allows us to think about these stuffs, right? Because essentially what ends up happening is the morning routine sets like us first, right? As an individual. And I always say this, and I know it's sometimes people are like, Nick, it's selfish, but really it's not, right? Because if you don't take care of yourself, and I know some of you have kids, some of you have other obligations, but if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. Like maybe you've heard that before, maybe you heard that many a times, but it's the God honest truth, right? Because if you're in a negative space and you feel like shit and your body's feeling like shit and you haven't got a haircut, you might be feeling like shit. You haven't got your nails done in a while, you might be feeling horrible. And then that might rub off on other people around you, right? But if you're feeling good, you know what happens when you feel good. Like everything's just popping, right? Everybody's like, damn, okay, there you go, Cincy, or there you go, Cheryl. Like you're looking good. Like, oh, what, you've been working out. Oh, you've been eating better, right? Because then like this positivity starts to brew in other areas of my life. Because if we let the problem stack up over and over and over again, what ends up happening is you wake up, you grab your phone, and this was my trap. And now I'll read it off to you. My exact trap that I wrote down whenever I realized this was last year was you wake up, you grab your phone, you dive into your emails, and then you got into social media. And before you even made coffee, I'm already thinking of the work deadlines that I have to do. I was like, fuck, and then lunch, I realized that I wasn't even eating lunch because what was lunch? I'm traveling from client to client. I'm going to my to-do list. Oh, wait, my cat has insulin. I need to go over here and do this. And then you're running to over here. And then next thing you know, you're getting string cheese. You're eating leftover pizza. You're making something easy. Then you realize that your health is going downhill. So if we get ourselves into a routine, we can start to fix our life rather than when it starts to spiral out of control, look at it from that aspect. So I know I just said it's like a long setup of like, yes, we're all fucking up. We all do it, right? But the thing is I think like when people always talk about like a routine and like kind of making it like a buzzword, like anybody that's successful that maybe, oh, you got to do a routine. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't have time for that shit. Like I did a poll a couple weeks ago and asked people and they said, yes, I'd love to start a routine, right? I love that. That was what made me prompt to do this live stream, that the prep for it. And a lot of people said, I don't have time. I said, you don't have time? You don't have time for a morning routine? What do you have time for, right? Like, you better be taking time out for yourself. Like if you don't have time for a routine, then what time are you waking up? Or you wake up and then next thing you know, it's for everybody else, and you're not actually taking the time for yourself to do the things that you actually need to do. You go and get your oil changed, right? You go and get new tires on your car. You go and get brakes on your car whenever you need to stop because somebody pulled out in front of you. Well, this is the thing where it's somebody's telling you to stop and pull out in front of you, right? Take a damn break, and you have to realize that you have to do the same thing that you would do for your car for yourself, but we don't ever do that, right? And so that's why, especially a morning routine or even a bedtime routine is even better because, like, look, when you work from home, a lot of time the issue from working from home is that there's never really a break unless you do it yourself, right? And this is something that we're going to talk about throughout the January on our AM, because I already have ourselves set up for what we're going to be doing for January. Next week we're going to talk about something called the Power Hour, and it's kind of like my play on a different type of the Pomodoro method. I don't know why I always say it. I always think of it like Pomodoro sauce from spaghetti sauce, or maybe I'm just hungry, who knows. But the thing is when we think about mindset, when we think about routine, we want to think about keeping ourselves into the structure, right? So when we do a routine, it creates structure from the very beginning. That's where we have to realize, right? Because then when we create structure in the beginning and we set that first 10 minutes, that first 15 minutes, that first 20 minutes, whatever it is, it actually boosts our energy because we're actually taking control of our day, right? Where a lot of different things in life or in world and whatever is trying to take your attention, take your control. At least you know when you wake up, you have the first 10 to 15 minutes at your disposal, right? Like all that other shit can wait. Maybe you have to wake up early. Maybe you just add it into something, right? Like whatever it is, you can do it because you have control of it, right? And this is the one thing that you can really take control of. And if you could do that in the beginning of your day, that's how you're going to start your day, right? Who the hell's calling me? Somebody try to think they can call me on my live stream. Get the hell out of here. So when you think about that, that's where it all begins. Because when we start to put ourselves into control, we start to realize that, oh my gosh, I could do a lot of these different things. And when you put that mindset that you can actually do what you said you were going to do, that can get you into a whole bunch of different places. So how are we going to do that? First one that you can do, and this is something that I did was very beginning, was I did the yoga, right? So over here, I brought out the mat. I sat there. I said, all right, I'm going to do at least 5 to 10 minutes of yoga. I'm going to try to do a sun salutation. First, I started off with like 4 to 5 sun salutations. And then I said, all right, I'm just going to start my day. And then I said, you know what? Let me wake up a little bit earlier and do the sun salutations plus like a specific body part, right? And I was like, okay, well, then that started working. And then I started finding myself slipping. And then I realized, oh shit, I need some other layers of accountability. So then I came up with that AM morning movement series that if you watch my stories and maybe some of the posts, I do that for my extra layer of accountability for myself, right? And so it's just like, okay, so now I know I want to do this only because I want to show you guys a different movement every day or every weekday, but I also want to keep myself accountable too, right? And so I realized now what's the next thing? After I got control of that, I said, okay, I feel good about this. Now I started adding the gratitude journaling into my routine. And then I said, okay, now I have a 15-minute routine. And then I would drink a bottle of water. And then I realized, like, holy shit, like this is something that you could do and take almost really anywhere. Like whenever you're traveling, whenever you're maybe you're going away for a holiday, maybe you're somebody who is really busy and you have to go from, hotel to hotel. Maybe you're somebody who does just work from home, right? And maybe it's just somebody who your routine always gets crazy. How can you manage it? Well, coming up with an easy 10 minutes. Well, Nick, I really just don't have 10 minutes. Well, do you have 10 minutes at night? Of course you no, Nick, I'm just so busy. I don't have anything at night. Like I just go, go, go. Oh, so you mean to tell me you wake up, you work all day long and then just go right to sleep? No, nobody does that, right? So we have to realize that the time, we're not waiting for time, right? There's no perfect time. We have to make the time. So this isn't something that just is like, yeah, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We have to make the time. How are we gonna make the time? We're gonna carve out individual aspects. So Are you somebody who's going to be, are you a morning person? Now let me know in the chat. Are you a morning person? Are you somebody who wakes up in the morning? Let me know. Are you somebody who sleeps in a little bit? You know, you're like, okay, I'll get up at 8 a.m. and then I'll start my day. And then, I'll go to bed at maybe 11. I'll watch the night shows, right? Found out my grandma it stays up later than I do. I'm like, wow, I always thought it was, I didn't know that was a thing. But do you stay up late at night? Right? Think to yourself, what is your nighttime schedule like? What's your nighttime routine looking like? Can that be improved in some regard? Can that be something that is, how can we say, focused? How can we say needs more attention? How can we say, AKA say, needs addressed, right? Because let's be real, if you're somebody who waits all day, and I fell into this trap a lot of times. I think a lot of people have as well that I know of, is that you go up, you work all day long, you skip your breakfast, you skip your protein, you eat whatever the hell is left in the fridge, or maybe something real quick, or maybe you get a DoorDash, maybe whatever it is, you go down the gas station. But then when it comes down to nighttime, maybe you're like, holy shit, I'm so hungry. I'm done with work. And then you eat a whole bunch of food, and then maybe you pass out, right? And we realize that there's no PM routine. I was just talking to my client on Saturday when we do our group coaching calls, and she was talking about how we are talking about getting into, different types of routines and morning routines and all these different things. And she says that she joined a book club and uses that as part of her PM routine because it actually makes her get tired. And that was something she struggled with, was staying up a long period of time. So it's like, we have to, instead of like bitching about it, right? What solutions can we find that are going to, how do we say, help us get out of it? Jenny, when you got 2 alarms, one wake up and a second one 7 minutes later to get out of bed. Oh, I like that. So like, get up, stop scrolling off your damn phone, and get out of bed, right? One of the worst things you can possibly do, I was reading a sleep study. Who the hell's texting me? I was reading a sleep study, and they said that the snooze button is actually the worst possible thing you can do for your sleep, believe it or not. So if you're somebody who's a snooze person, listen up here, right? So if you're somebody who snoozes, and I think most of the times we know this, is that you get yourself out of what is called the circadian rhythm. I don't know if you've ever heard of circadian rhythm, but that's just your body's natural alarm clock. It knows when it wants to get up and it knows when it wants to go to bed, right? And if you could do this on a routine basis, this is what brings something called homeostasis, which we don't want to get into too much of this crazy, right? But if you want to, we can always go into it. But once your body gets into this homeostasis and the circadian rhythm, if you hit the snooze button, your body gets out of that rhythm. And then say it might go, and then what they research is that it actually goes into another sleep cycle. So you might go in, because if you've ever noticed, you ever track your sleep, I track it with the Whoop and the Apple Watch, your Fitbit, whatever it is. But how you have those different levels, you have REM, you have deep sleeps, slow wave sleep, restorative sleep, right? Light sleep, all these different sleep, and we still really don't even know what the hell is going on with sleep. But when it goes down to it, if you hit the snooze button, what happens? You go into another cycle, which then gets you worse out for the day, right? Because here's another thing, and we'll move on, is that if you are somebody, they said that your body and your brain has to go into REM, right? And your body goes into REM sleep, and that's where a lot of different things happen, processes into your body. And when you go into REM sleep, if you don't allow your body to do that while you're sleeping, it does it while it's awake. And if you've ever daydreamed, if you ever had like daydreams or found yourself wandering off into nowhere, that's your body doing it while you're still awake, because it needs to do that to refresh its brain. It's a crazy thing. Brain psychology is wild when you start studying it, but we don't want to get too far into there. So when we think about it, an AM routine might be out of existence for some people, but a PM routine could be something that you can implement. Now, this could be the same thing that we're talking about in the morning routine can be applied to the PM routine, right? Carrie, how we doing, right? I know Carrie has a good PM routine? Actually, I have no idea, but I hope you do, right? And now let me know, what do some of you guys and some of you ladies, what do you do for a PM routine? What do you do for an AM routine? Do you have a specific routine? Do you chart out your day for the day? Like what are some of the things that you're like, if I don't do this, like hell's breaking loose, right? Hell's breaking loose. Because the thing is like, especially with a routine, is that you start to realize, like, if you're someone who's, like, really, like, high anxiety or just, like, really finds that, like, you're always scatterbrained, this could be something that really sets you up because it's like you're starting the path, right? It gives you time to think, gives you time to breathe, gives you time to, like, really figure stuff out. And I know for me, like, putting on the headphones, doing the yoga, doing the journaling, and even though that's 10, 15 minutes, like, it just kinda sets me up, right? Instead of just sitting there just, like, doom scrolling like, oh, that's a good video. Oh, that person just got shot. Oh, look at this person. Oh, that's a good ad. Like, oh, look at this food, right? And we're just sitting here for 15 minutes. Why don't we do something damn constructive? Like, do something for ourselves. Why are we letting these other things dictate our whole day? And that's one thing that I would see. Like, I would see like the news, and it's like, oh my God, this person did this. Can you believe? Oh my, I don't give a shit. Why do I care? But why is this the first thing? So we have to realize that it helps our emotional health, right? It's not just like me telling you, like, oh, well, we got to exercise or we got to do a routine or we got to figure out something. Well, I have a list of, if you do comment AM, you can get a little checklist and you can print out for yourself and just get some good ideas. I have 5 for your health, wealth, relationship, self. Um, and it makes it a really, I think, something that you can utilize and maybe start to build off of for this year because it really changed a lot of things in um, my life, right? A lot of things for my health, my business, my relationship, right? A lot of these different things. And I feel like it's important for people to realize that, like, if you are somebody who is looking to get on a journey, an exercise journey, a fitness journey, whatever it may be, these are the little things that you can do to like give yourself wins, right? Like, did you show up in the morning and did you show up to do the things that you said you do? Okay, you did. Well, hell yeah, let's reward yourself, right? Let's go. What about the next day? You didn't? Okay, well, what did you do? What didn't you do? What I can't even speak. What could you have done, right? A little bit better. And I think a lot of times if we look at through these lenses, we can start to build what is mostly important, which I think a lot of people don't realize in a health journey, is your emotional health, right? Your emotional health is just as important as your physical health. Let's be real, right? I have I think I just did was it today? Yeah, is that you spend a lot of damn time in your head, right? You spend a lot of damn time in your head, and it better be a good place to visit, right? And you could write that down. That was something I thought of this morning, right? It better be a good place to visit because if it isn't, that rubs off into the rest of the world, right? So, doing a morning routine can maybe help clear out some of that place to make it a place worth visiting, right? But Nick, I don't have time. I just don't have the time for it. I really just don't have time. Can you do 5 minutes in the morning? I mean, 5 minutes. Do you brush your teeth? You do. Okay. What can you do also while you brush your teeth? Can you do it right before, right? Like, well, I don't know. The kids get in the way as soon as I wake up, like they're already yelling at me and like this is it. Can you involve them, right? Can they be involved in it in the routine? Like maybe your routine isn't even health and exercise. It's like when they wake up, you have a smoothie or you have a juice or maybe you have a breakfast, right? Like you wake up and you guys have breakfast, or maybe the kids already know that, what is it? Like something, can we implement them into it rather than being like, that's the barrier. How can we implement that? That's something that was a really big breakthrough with a couple of my in-person clients was they worked from home. One would have to take the kids. One would have to stay home. One would have to take the kids to work or drop them off at the school bus. And then like they would trade places depending on who was busy. And one of the things that we found out was like, what happens instead of letting that be the thing that gets in the way, why don't we let that be the thing that brings us together? So before the kids left, they woke up a little bit earlier and we just did this together, right? Just thought of some plans and they had the breakfast together. So it was all four of them together as a family. And then they left because it was a routine. They all liked it, right? And so like it's the little things like that that can make a big person. Well, Nick, I fucking am not a morning person. I'm a single person. I don't have any kids. I don't have any shit like that. I just don't like getting up. Well, you don't have to be, right? We just talked about being a PM person. What about having a and honestly, really, who cares whenever you wake up? Whenever you wake up, start your day with some damn intention, right? I think that's the whole, now that I'm like even thinking about it, it's like start the day with some intention because there is going to be people who are shift workers, right? I do work with shift workers who they start work at 9 p.m., right? And so it's just like wherever you are, you just have to make sure that there is something that you do and it is something that you look forward to doing because when you look forward to doing something, you're more encouraged to stick with it. Like, let's be real. You're more encouraged to even want to get up in the first place to do it. Like for me, like I know my hamstrings were getting tight. So like getting back into my yoga practice last year more and more intensely was something that I mean, I feel better in my hamstrings. I will say I might have overdid it in my back, but that's what happens when you're trying different things and you're getting realize that you are getting older and you're not doing this like whenever you were 20 again. So, you know, yeah, we all lessons learned. I think we all go there. But the thing is like I challenge you, whoever's watching this live and whoever's watching this on the replay, because this is going to be saved in the replay on our not only our broadcast channel. We're everywhere. We're on the broadcast channel. We're on the damn Facebook group now. We got a couple people in the Facebook group. And if you're in the Facebook group and you are watching this, and you might watch this today, we're going to announce the winner for the $100 Lululemon gift card on Wednesday. So anybody that wants to win a $100 Lululemon gift card, you better get your ass and sign up. It's free in our Facebook group. But that's besides the point. Here's my challenge to you. Tomorrow, I want you, whether it's morning or night, give yourself 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Put it like write it down if you're wherever you're listening to this. 10 minutes. Well, maybe if you've already commented AM for the morning routine checklist, I'll send it over to you. Look through, there's 20 options right there, and pick one from each, right? And just pick one from each. And maybe they suck and that doesn't even resonate with you. Well, use that as a basis and do what does resonate with you. And I tell you, if you could spend at least like 20 minutes just figuring out, actually, I can drink 8 ounces of water in the morning instead, and right before my coffee, I can walk on my walking pad for 10 minutes right after I get up. Like, start to think, what can you do before you get into work? Like, what is that thing before you start work? If you're a work from home person, what is that one thing that you can do before you get up, right? Say you start at 7 or you always start at 7. Can you wake up at 6? Get yourself up and out of bed and going at 6:15, and at 6:20 you're walking, you're doing a yoga stretch, you're starting some sort of routine so that by 6:45 you're ready to rock and roll, right? You're like, "Damn, I already got energy." Maybe you're already making a coffee and you're waiting to log in rather than rolling out of bed, just logging right in, right? If you're somebody who has kids, can you wake up early with them and before they go to school? Maybe you have breakfast, maybe you do something with them, maybe you do a stretch, maybe you do a workout with them. I got a bunch of clients who 6 a.m. their kids are getting ready for school and they come down early with them and start working. They go through the ladder a bunch of times, they get the bands, they're walking around, and then they just leave and off they go, right? Is that something that you can implement? Especially, I know a whole bunch of people are trying to get ready for exercise, right? And again, if you need help getting yourself started with exercise, join the Core 5 Blueprint. If you haven't seen my stories, we got people killing it who just signed up in these last couple months. Everybody's killing it. I appreciate all my clients putting in all their hard work. But it's like, if you can't do anything in the AM, what can you do at the PM? Can you give yourself a bath? Can you stop looking at your phone doom scrolling right before you go to bed. Instead of just sitting there watching your TV all day long and then passing out, eating food late night, a whole bunch of food, snacking, and then falling asleep. Like, what are some different things that you need to change because you know what you need to change, you know what you need to improve on. We all need something, but what is it that can be improved? I know for me, I it was my snacking. Late night, we're just snacking all night long. We're eating this, pistachios, maybe a cookie here and there, but then you realize that like you're falling asleep and it was like an hour after eating. So it's like, is that something that you can implement? Making sure that you set a strict time. Like maybe I'm not going to eat after 8 p.m., right? Like I'm not eating after 8 p.m. Or maybe you tell yourself if I eat after 7 or after dinner, it's got to be fruit or yogurt, right? That was an implementation that I got to actually start doing that again. Um, now that I think about that, that was a good one. But like it's these little things that we need to think of at the end of the night that's going to set us up for success in the morning and the next day, and we keep going, right? Because this is what's going to help improve ourselves when it all comes down to it. This is how we take back that little bit of self-focus that everybody else is trying to take from us, and we could do it for ourselves. And it makes it a lot easier because now you're going to have less stress, right? Because that's the outcome. You're going to have less stress because now you're actually in control and you're not overwhelmed by all the bullshit that you have to do on a daily basis anyways. So yeah, dude, my challenge is tomorrow morning, tomorrow night, give yourself 10 minutes before you go into work, before you go to sleep. Maybe start with 10 minutes and then maybe you work up to 15, 20, a half hour. Who the hell knows? Because you never know what's going to happen. Just don't try to overhaul it at once. And then next thing you know, you end up going crazy. But if you do try something and you are serious about making a damn change, you also have to have a consequence, right? Like it's one thing for me to be like, hey, let's start a morning routine. Let's start it. If you actually want to make a damn change, like you have to sacrifice one of those things that you really like doing. That TV show that you always watch at the end of the night. If you don't do your morning routine or your evening routine, you ain't watching it. Simple as that, right? If you don't, you have to set yourself up because then you realize, like, oh shit, there is I like watching that show. Like that's part of my like. Wait, you mean to tell right? And these are the little things that you have to think of throughout the day, throughout whenever you're trying to challenge yourself and you're trying to build habits. Because it's one thing to say you're going to do something, and then you start doing it. But what happens whenever you don't do it? You're just like, okay, yep, just woe is me, back to normal me. No, screw that. If you're actually trying to change, you got to give yourself some consequences because you don't want the consequences. We never like consequences. We want to do the right thing. So yeah. So don't give yourself a chance to do the consequences because we don't want that. So I encourage you tomorrow, do something, whether it's an AM routine, whether it's a PM routine, and then give yourself a consequence if you don't do it. And that will show yourself if you're really serious too, right? Like and I know we're gonna have this saved in our community group. For somebody to always watch on the replay because we're going to start building a little database of our videos in there as well rather than just have my Instagram flooded with live streams because I'm going to be doing more live streams throughout this year. That's something I have on my vision board, right? So if you're watching this on the replay, wherever you're watching this, write down in the comments or if you're watching this live, what is one thing that you can implement into a routine in the morning and at night. We have the guide. If you comment AM right now on Instagram, on YouTube, or YouTube and Facebook, you're just gonna have to wait for the guide. I'll include it into the video. But what is that one thing that you can do, right? And only you know. But I encourage you to figure it out and try to do something because the goal isn't to really fix everything at once, right? It's to start adding something into your routine so that you can take over and start with that one small step. Because that's how I always say it. It's 1% better each day, 1% better every day. And if you could do that, guess what? You're gonna see the results. That's just how it is. So what will your first step be? What do I always say? It's day one or one day, right? You get to decide. Let tomorrow be your day one. Not one day. What is it? Is it gonna be day one? Is it going to be one day, right? Because it's been one day for 30 years. So what the hell are we waiting for? Like, it's either now or never. That's what I always say. I always love getting on calls with some of my clients, and let me know if you have any questions, because I don't know, I don't know, I could talk about this forever, but I have to get on my coaching call, right? I got to get onto my mentors, because it's one thing for me to be a coach and a mentor for hundreds of other people, but what about myself? I got to get mentored too. Because I got to get myself to help you guys to get the other. It's all a symbiotic relationship here, right? So let me know what's one thing that you can start to add into an AM routine, a PM routine. Make sure that you actually stick with it. And if you can stick with it, you're going to actually be more inclined to want to do it, right? And if it's something you want to do, it's something that you're going to look forward to doing. So I'll save this. And if you have any questions, holler at me, let me know. And again, if you need help getting into an own individual program, Nick, this sounds great, but I just don't know where the hell to start. DM me Core 5, and we'll see if the Core 5 blueprint is something that can work for you. Because I know it will, right? Because it's the best program, because it took me 8 years to make it, and now I got it down to a point where I know it can help you as long as you want to help yourself. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and I will see you on our next video. So peace out, everyone. All right. See you later, Instagram. So YouTube, that is our Monday mindset. And I kind of like doing these videos, kind of the knowing that it's going to be saved here. Hopefully it doesn't mute, because that was always actually, as soon as I canceled this little restream thing, they were like, you could stream to a Facebook group now. And I'm like, I see what you were trying to do. So if you're watching this, hopefully this helps. Hopefully this gives you some insight to maybe starting to take over some of the things for yourself. And then again, let me know your biggest takeaway, and hopefully this saves. Hopefully the audio is all well, and this is something you can use as a resource to kick some ass for 2025 and beyond. So thanks for everybody for tuning in and being part of the community. You guys are awesome.